Hey guys, welcome or welcome back. My name's Mike. Hope you're doing great and having a wonderful day. This might be the quickest response video I've ever made. I just finished watching Derek's video, and I'll link it in the description. I completely relate to that, Derek, and I think a lot of us do. So, like for me personally, before I got into nonfiction history, right, I made this comment in one of my previous videos about like I read so widely. I've got like, not counting nonfiction history, I've got 16 genres that I read. So what I do is I like, for fiction, for example, I'll take fiction as the broad thing of fiction, and I find inside that I try to pinpoint what I like. So fiction, there's mystery, there's historical fiction, there's fantasy, sci-fi, mystery, all these other things. And I just try to focus in the best that I can on what I like in those. And then the same with like poetry. There's so much poetry out there. For me personally, I like free verse poetry the best. So I dive into, that free verse and try to find authors and whatever. And then with history, it's kind of the same way. Like I have found through other booktubers that like I like the overall, which I don't have one here handy, I left it in the other room, but like right now I'm reading The History of the Middle East by Peter Mansfield that I got from Saracen. So I like that. Just take one book, the history of the Middle East, Germany, America, whatever, for me, and just read that. That's good enough for me. Now, also I like the World War II era, that time frame. But if you just take World War II, there's so many. You got all these different countries you could focus on. But I just it's hard, I know, because it's like you got to find what interests you. But then if everything interests you, it's hard to pinpoint. So I guess it's kind of fun. Let me finish this thought and then I'll go to the next thing. So like World War II is, I really am interested in the Nazi Germany era. So I just like hyper focus on that. Get a bunch of different books on Hitler and the Gestapo and Nuremberg and like all that stuff. And it just kind of narrows it down and focuses into that. As far as like reading a little bit of everything, I don't know. I actually was just talking to Bryan at the Crusty Codex just a second ago on comment. And we were talking about like I feel like I need to comment on every video that I watch, and I watch every video, which that takes a lot of time because I'm subscribed to a lot of people and I want to do that. And I do my best, to comment and engage. But it's the same with reading. You got all these different things you want to read, but you're going to have to force yourself to focus in and hone in on what you want to read. I don't know, it's hard, and it's like everything else, you got to find the time for it. I don't think there's anything wrong with what you do as far as like, because you have all these different interests and you talk about like when you get a new interest, you dive in. I do the same thing. I have to pull the reins back a little bit on myself because I just have the tendency to where I find this new, whatever subject and I just dive in head first. Don't even look, I just dive in. And then, and I'm sure you've done this, before you know it, you dove in and you got like 20 different trails you're off on into that subject. And you kind of like, what the heck happened? Like, where am I, So I've got to slow down on that, be more deliberate. And that's why this year, one of my biggest things for me personally on my reading was to be more deliberate and to be more choosy of what I want to read. Yes, it does carve out a huge chunk of stuff by doing that. And it kind of makes me guilty, like you said, it guilt trips you to where like, well, man, if I only focus on, I don't know, these two things, then I'm missing out all these other 15 things. That's just how it's going to have to be sometimes, though, because like you said, life is short. We've only got so much time. You got family, I have family, work, all that stuff. So you just got to try to slow down and focus a little bit more. I know that's kind of plain generic advice, but that's the best that I can think of. I'm trying to think of like And I also, when I'm doing, you know, all these different genres, I try to focus on them one at a time. Like right now, history nonfiction. I'm into that. And, you know, I might read non-history fiction for a month or two, and then I'm like, all right, I'm gonna get a little burned out, or I want to take a break, so then I'll jump over to like fiction, or, you know, whatever other genre. I try to do that one at a time. I also only read one book at a time. I know some people do 2, 3, 4. I can't do that. It kind of stresses me out. I get too, you know, scattered a little bit, you know what I mean? But I try to just focus on one genre at a time, one book at a time. And we're all different, you know, man. We all got different personalities and how our mind works. You know, we're all a little bit different. So I don't know if this helps at all, man. I hope it does, but I don't know. I can't think of anything else. And again, we're not gonna have time to read everything we want. I've got loads and loads and loads and loads of books. And it might take me, I might have a book set on my shelf for years and before I get to it. And I've just come to that conclusion that it's okay. I don't care, you know, whatever. I'll get to it eventually type thing. But it's all about finding that balance. And that's what I was talking to Bryan about. Finding that balance, which is, it can be tough. You just got to be, oh, I just lost the word I was thinking of. You got to be deliberate. That's what I'm thinking of. You just got to be deliberate about it. So I know that was kind of a janky answer, but I hope that helps, man. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one.